Wine racing. G'day, Beau. How are you, bud?
Good day.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, really good, Dan.
Yeah, sorry, a bit of a delay there. We better allow for that. Yeah, it's good to catch up with you. I've been watching your channel.
Likewise.
Yeah, I've been watching your channel for probably the last 2 or 3 months. And the first time I actually watched it, you were talking about USI Tech. You did a video about that and sort of about the scams that are going on. And that's how I come across you, because I actually have a few friends in USI Tech, and I put 80 bucks into it myself, even though I knew it was a scam basically from day one. So that's where I come across your channel. So and I really enjoy it, but it's really interesting to watch.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So what I want to start with is just get a bit of background on you, just to give it a bit of colour. Can you just tell us a bit about yourself, you know,
Sure.
your education and sort of how you sort of moved into this crypto space over time?
Sure. So just over 12 months ago, I was a program manager. Worked for a state-owned power company owned by New South Wales government. Worked for that company for 12 years. Started off as a tradesman. I was a line worker. Used to climb power lines and work on power lines. Ended up moving into a design role where I did my engineering degree. I did a degree in mechanical engineering part-time. Studied over 5 years,
Okay.
and did that, which was challenging. Probably one of the most challenging things I've ever done. But after doing that, I kind of realised I enjoyed working with people. Enjoyed working on challenging things. So between the time I finished up in design and moving into a program manager role, I did secondments where I managed new technology development projects. And I would travel around New South Wales, sometimes as far as Broken Hill, to meet people from the United States, and we'd work on new technologies that hadn't been implemented on a network before. Very, very challenging stuff. I was basically the only one in charge of that for a number of months. It was probably one of the challenging times of my career, but taught me a lot about not only projects, but new technologies and how teams need to come together to achieve results. So around about just over 12 months ago, I learned about Ethereum. Started investing. My wife and I had invested into other assets before that, and I was just absolutely taken aback by this cryptocurrency stuff.
Just
Obviously, like most people, had heard of Bitcoin. It was in the periphery, but never really gave too much attention to it. So when I learned about Ethereum...
Oh, frozen. You there, Beau?
During that period as well, where my wife and I just invested every single dollar we could afford into cryptocurrencies for over 6 months. Okay. I was that convinced by the technology, where it was going to go, and how early we were in the overall market. So during that time, I started the YouTube channel. I thought, this would be a fun way to jump on as an Australian and just talk about cryptos and see where it went. And was really fortunate that it picked up and some opportunities were presented out of that. So I ended up leaving my job late last year.
Wow.
I had started a consultancy about 7 months ago where I was consulting part-time outside of work in the cryptocurrency space. And I've now, launched Cryptocurrency Australia Media. We've got the website and the Twitter, and we've got a few staff on board now. So we're just enjoying being in this space and working hard and seeing where it goes.
Yeah. So you said Ethereum was your first interest. Where did you hear about Ethereum, and what sparked your interest in that particular one?
I heard about it through a news article, actually. I believe it might have been, it was an Australian news article, whether it was Business Insider or something else like that. The title of the article was how much the returns Ethereum had gained in a short amount of time. Right. At that time, Ethereum went from, I believe, a few dollars up to a few hundred very, very quickly. And the returns are what got me interested straight away. I just thought, what is this? But then the name Ethereum, I mean, it's not something you hear very often. And then the technology, I was just completely consumed by it. So that's what really grasped me at first.
Yes, okay. So it was more the investment and the idea you can make lots of money out of this rather than the technology? Is that what grabbed you?
I would say 50-50.
Yeah, okay.
I would say 50-50 because it sounds cliche, but a lot of people say you need to understand the technology before you invest.
Yeah.
But it is so true, because we're so early that the technology drives the fundamental understanding of crypto assets as an investment.
Yeah.
So once you understand the changes in governance that can be brought around by using a distributed ledger, once you understand the paradigm shift in how humans interact and see money with cryptocurrencies, you understand how game-changing crypto and blockchain is for the future.
So the game change. I was going to ask this question later, but I'll ask it now. What will the game look like in, say, 10 years from now, in your opinion?
That's a good question. I'm not of the belief that things are going to happen overnight. It's going to be a very, very gradual process, especially because what I think you'll find is large corporations aren't necessarily going to move to public blockchain architectures. I'd say they're either going to come up with their own private blockchains, yeah, or develop their own in-house systems, or use other private systems. So I don't think there's going to be this overnight massive change in how we deal with this technology and use distributed ledgers for governance. I think it's going to be very gradual. So you've got the money side, and then you've got the architecture side where decentralized applications can exploit this technology. What I think you'll find is more and more decentralized applications will be built over time. More companies will come on board, see what the technology can do for them, and they'll start exploring those options. Yeah. And I think you'll see more and more cryptocurrency usage in terms of adoption and utility rather than investment. See, right now we're in the investment cycle. Yeah. People aren't using cryptocurrencies. When I say using, people are. I use it as much as I can, but we still need fiat currency. We can't just survive on cryptocurrency right now. So most people that are buying are speculating on future returns. But in the future, I believe the utility and usage of cryptocurrencies will creep up and become far more as a percentage in terms of investment versus utility. Yeah, okay. Now the thing that worries me, I guess, about crypto is what happens to society. Does crypto, in your opinion, I assume you think yes, but does it improve society by having weaker governance? Did you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, I do, but I think cryptocurrencies, specifically cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, which don't have any central authority governing them, which are completely distributed and open source, where the emission of the currency is programmed using cryptography and cannot be changed, I think is massively empowering for people. And I don't think cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin will have the dethroning of the government that people think, but I think as not only a technology, but a use case for what money can do rather than being under the control of, say, a central bank that can just print it at will, I think is hugely empowering. But do you think that makes society better overall by the individual being empowered rather than the government having control? It sort of worries me. Oh, absolutely.
It worries me the uses of Bitcoin and whether a lack of regulation is really a good thing in the scheme of things. Well, if you think about it, I can see where some of your concerns are coming from, and it's probably due to secondary markets. Probably the whole market landscape of cryptocurrencies is still quite immature, and there has been, in my opinion, market manipulation on more than one occasion, pump and dump groups, things like that. So I agree with that, and I agree the markets that govern the investment side of cryptocurrencies do need regulation. I am actually for that. But in terms of empowering society, absolutely, because when you look at the fundamentals of cryptocurrency, it uses asymmetric public key cryptography, right? So you have a private key, you have a public and a private key, and your private key gives you complete control of your funds. It's in no one else's hands. So you are in complete control of your money. It doesn't have to be given to any third-party institution like a bank. You are in complete control. So it is hugely empowering society. But as a technological paradigm shift in the way we see and use money, it's still quite advanced, I think, for where we are today. And it's going to take some time for the adoption and the usability of cryptocurrency and wallets to improve. Okay. Are you aware? I'm sure you are. What's his name? Andreas Antonopoulos. You watch his channel?
I haven't for a while, but I have read one of his books and
Okay.
I have watched several of his things. He's a real visionary.
Yeah, but it's to him, it's all about decentralization. The blockchain is just not that exciting to him. It's about decentralization. Are you of the same opinion? And that's the exciting thing about crypto is the decentralization of it.
It's definitely one of the things that excite me. If you look at things that are generally open source as a product, as a something that can be used and refined over time, things that are open source generally end up being the best products, because as people use them and refine them over time, there's no agenda behind the improvement or the usability of a product when it's open source, because there's people from all over the world contributing to it, to its improvement. So that's Bitcoin. So I see his opinion on Bitcoin. However, the majority of cryptocurrencies right now are based on decentralized applications that are being built by companies. So you have this very entrepreneurial side behind cryptocurrencies now.
Yep.
That is centralized. And I don't see that chunk of it becoming fully decentralized anytime soon.
Yeah. So that's, as an investor in normal companies, I see companies, and that's what sort of makes sense to me. They're normal companies, and they could easily list on the ASX, but they're using cryptocurrency, but they're not the sort of the reason why Bitcoin was invented. They're taking something, but and centralizing it, basically, you know, making money out of it, which wasn't the reason the open source like you're talking about. So I guess that there's two sides to this thing, isn't there? There's the purists who see this as decentralization. I guess what I call libertarians who want to sort of weaken governments. But then there seems to be the majority who just see this as a way to make money, a new way to make money. Is that the right way to look at it?
Look, it's not a bad observation. See, decentralized applications are built on protocols, blockchain protocols, right? So Ethereum is an open source blockchain protocol. So that foundational layer from which decentralized applications on is open source. It does still have a foundation that controls its major improvements. It does still have developers working for the Ethereum Foundation. It needs to. If it didn't have that, I think it'd be out of control.
Yeah.
But the companies that are building decentralized applications on that open source protocol, that is the centralized aspect. Okay, so Ethereum as a token, Ether can be seen as a crypto commodity attached to this open source protocol. But then companies are saying, well, hey, we can build a decentralized application that can use the new governance processes and the distributed ledger that Ethereum provides that we couldn't previously do with centralized systems. And so they create a crypto token to be used within their ecosystem. Some of the companies have fantastic ideas and absolutely brilliant. Some of them don't, but that's just life.
Yeah, okay. And now one of the other things that you know I ponder, we talk about fiat, and the central banks have the ability to just print as much as they want. The problem I see with cryptos is that anyone has the ability to print as much as they want, and there's no control or regulation over the amount of cryptocurrencies or how many how many of that particular coin will be available. So instead of having this US dollar that they can keep building up, you have all these cryptocurrencies that they can keep building wider. Is there a solution to that to stop all these cryptocurrencies coming in, or is that just the way it has to work?
Yeah, so to break down your observation into a little bit further granularity, crypto, and this is where it is difficult because this ecosystem is so new, subcategories or subclasses of cryptocurrencies are starting to be defined. They call them crypto assets now. So if we look at cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, like Litecoin, like Dash, these cryptocurrencies do follow a programmed release schedule. So Bitcoin, the release of Bitcoin per block confirmed halves around about every 4 years. That cannot be changed. Bitcoin has a maximum cap of 21 million. It will never go past that. Yeah. So people need to understand that cryptocurrencies built on their own protocol, they cannot be printed beyond what the developers have programmed that cryptocurrency to do. Now, where I think you're coming from is the proliferation of new crypto tokens you're currently seeing on the market. And those tokens are coming from companies that have created a decentralized application. They've decided we want to print 500 million tokens or 10 million tokens or whatever to be used within our ecosystem. Now, when they create that amount of tokens, let's just use one token, for example. So they created X token with 5 million supply. They decided to distribute 2.5 million during their crowd sale and keep 2.5 million for the companies and the founders. That 5 million cap can never be passed because it's been programmed into a smart contract.
Yeah.
However, the number of tokens in terms of different crypto assets coming from companies will only increase over time. It wouldn't surprise me within 5 years if we've got 20, 30, 40, 50,000 different crypto tokens, because anyone can get a company together, create an application, come up with an idea, and then create their own crypto token. But that doesn't mean that me and you are going to find that token valuable. That doesn't mean that it's going to work in the long term. That's the entrepreneurship. That's the value that companies are trying to bring now within their decentralized applications. Say, hey, our token has real utility in our platform. It can be used as an access token. It can be used as a utility token. And we see that if our application gets adopted and used long term, that the value of our token may appreciate.
So again, from a layman's point of view, could it be such a thing where if I want to pay my electricity bill, I have to use this token? If I want to go buy bread from Coles, I have to use this token, and have, you know, hundreds, perhaps thousands of different tokens for different purposes? Is that a possibility? And practically, obviously, that doesn't make sense. But why wouldn't that be the case if every company can have their own token?
I think that's a very fair and good question, actually. And it is, okay, so within certain decentralized applications now, they are saying you need to use our token. And yes, some merchants may say, you know, we only accept Litecoin or we only accept Bitcoin. However, the market, the need to change that is in development. So you're seeing things like decentralized exchanges. You're seeing things like Shapeshift, crypto debit cards that will allow hundreds of certain classifications of tokens, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's an ERC20 token, to be stored on these cards. And then you can go to a merchant and pay, and it will instantly convert it to fiat at the point of sale for you. So the ease at which to spend these hundreds of tokens is in development right now and will mature over the coming years. But it is, you know, an issue. But if you look at things like Living Room Satoshi that allow you to pay a multitude of bills or send cryptocurrency, convert crypto to fiat and send to your bank, they accept, I think, probably around 10 to 20 different tokens.
Okay.
So we're in that refinement phase at the moment. We're still so early in overall crypto's development, but I think it's still a fair question.
So you think over time, you know, you're saying that maybe 40 or 50,000 tokens will be out there, but over time that will then be refined down to a certain few of dozens or perhaps hundreds that will last, and the rest will go by the wayside. No. Do you think?
No, I don't think that. I actually think that the number of tokens will keep increasing. When you look at different open source protocols, so at the moment we've got Ethereum, but you've got Neo now, which is starting to gain traction as a platform where decentralized applications can be built on. You've got Cardano that's being built as well. You've got Lisk. These are all platforms that are going to allow, say, me and you to create our own token. In fact, you can jump on and create your own token right now in about an hour for virtually nothing. There's nothing stopping you doing that because it's open source. So the quantity of tokens aren't going to change, but the mechanisms to use all these thousands of different tokens to actually spend in the real world, that will improve. Okay.
Yeah, understand. So now just going back, you were saying that you're basically all in on crypto. Have you thought about what happens in 5 or 10 years if it was a fad? Have you got sort of a backup plan, or is this just going to be it for you Make or bust.
Yeah. Look, I'm so passionate about crypto. What it gives us as humans, the freedom it gives us to control our own money, the changes to governance systems that distributed ledger and open source technology bring. I mean, this is the future, and I am all in. At this point, I don't need a contingency plan, but if I did have a contingency plan, then I'd say, well, that was fun. I gave it a crack, and back to the old job. But there's much smarter, much more influential people than me that are seeing blockchain and cryptocurrency tech as the future as well. And they're the ones I look to, and they're the ones that everyone else should be looking to as well.
Yeah. So are you just your investing style? You're basically a long-term buy and hold of these tokens?
Yes.
Or are you more of a trader?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't trade at all.
Oh, that's no fun.
I don't trade at all.
You got to flip them.
I would not have the bandwidth or the technical expertise to trade. To be honest, I think expecting people to profitably be able to trade is unrealistic for the majority of people. I mean, that the time and the skill required to get to that point is in my opinion, I sort of don't get it. But I follow seasoned long-term investors a lot. I read a lot of long-term investing books, and I've had that methodology even before cryptocurrency. So I just dollar cost average. I accumulate and I go long.
And I know I spoke to you briefly about this. When I'm valuing a stock, you're basically trying to work out how much money this company is going to make and give back to me. And that's what Warren Buffett does. Just try and look long term. What are they going to give back to me? I can't see how you do it with crypto. So when you're valuing a crypto or making a decision to buy, what are you looking for mainly?
Yeah, that's a good question because a lot of crypto companies aren't going to have cash flows. It's
Exactly.
a very different business model. What they have is they've built an application. So let's say a mobile app, Apple, Android, or a web-based app that somehow brings value that previously wasn't available, that blockchain tech and distributed ledger technology has brought. So if this platform is really good, if this application is groundbreaking, if it brings incredible utility over what was previously available, then adoption and usage of that platform will require the tokens to be bought, used, and held for access. So the way you value these platforms is you say, well, in my opinion, this idea is absolutely brilliant. I'm confident in the management team's ability to deliver on what they've set out in their white paper. Their token schedule, or how much tokens they've distributed in their sale, is in favor in terms of risk because they're not holding 50% of the tokens that they could release or flood onto the market one day. And I think this application is going to be adopted in usage. Therefore, as I know, their token is required as a utility token within that platform. There should be a reasonable degree of probability that the token may appreciate over time. And that's how they're valued. And the second one is the protocols. So Ethereum, Lisk, Neo. For developers to build decentralized applications, they need that token to be used as fuel within the system. So if this protocol is groundbreaking, if it has fantastic features like Neo that actually produces a dividend in the form of gas, it's one of the only cryptos that does so, that if that protocol is used to build more and more decentralized applications, then developers need those tokens to build those applications. And Ethereum also, millions of people buy Ethereum tokens to use in ICOs. So there's all these use cases for the token. So they're the two ways you value protocols and decentralized applications.
Okay. Now I'm going to go back a little bit just to Bitcoin itself, and you're talking about the finite number of Bitcoin. I think it's 21 million, somewhere around that figure. So in the next 20, 25 years, they're all going to be mined, and we're going to have 21 million. Is that correct?
I think it's around 2040. So yes, 2040. That's right.
So what happens? I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense that a currency, although I guess it's debatable whether it will be a currency. That might be the first question. Will it be a currency? And if it is, how can a currency be finite where the value will be in holding that currency rather than actually spending it? No one would want to spend it. because it's increasing in value as the demand increases. So it becomes deflationary. Every other asset would go down against it, which goes against sort of economic sense in my head anyway. So did you understand how it would work with a finite amount being available? And will Bitcoin, I guess the first question is, will Bitcoin ever be a currency? Is that the use for it?
Look, I think that's a fair question, and it is hard to speculate that many years in the future. But if we look at where Bitcoin is today, the majority of people buying it are buying it to speculate on long-term appreciation. However, we have upgrades coming to Bitcoin, such as the Lightning Network, and the Lightning Network is going to allow near instantaneous transactions for near zero fees. The utility of using Bitcoin as a currency and as micro payments within apps is going to go through the roof, because here you've got this 8 to 9 year running cryptocurrency. It's the most refined and developed code out there. It's got the longest operational history. It's the most well known. It's got the most influences behind it in the world that believe in this project. And the network is kept up by proof of work, distributed consensus. So you've got this incredible utility, but to get Bitcoin to be used more as a currency and not just as a store of value or as a medium of exchange, right, is we need to come up with mechanisms where people can easily spend this stuff and not be afraid that it's going to go down in value, because the volatility is an issue. And just come up with ways in integrating it into everyday life. How we go about that and how that's going to happen, I can't say.
Yeah, okay. I better look at my list, because I actually had all these questions I was going to ask, but I haven't even started it yet. I was going to say, what was your first investment? We know that. I had a question from a viewer, Longview. I don't know if you've seen it on Longfield, sorry, on my vid. He asked if you wanted to invest as an Australian, can you just give some advice if you wanted to enter the market now, the exchange? Because basically I wouldn't know where to start. Can you sort of give us a bit of an idea of the best way to go about buying cryptos?
Sure. Yeah, so we're really lucky in Australia. We've actually got some of the best, in my opinion, exchanges out there. There's exchanges like Independent Reserve. It's a fantastic one. Great fees, only offers a few cryptos. So you've got Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin Cash.
Okay.
You've then got CoinSpot. CoinSpot's a great one. I believe CoinSpot now has over 100 cryptocurrencies. You got BTC Markets has, I believe, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. So there's a variety of exchanges, and why we're lucky in Australia is because all our exchanges have a fiat gateway that allows you to literally create an account. People get freaked out because all Aussie exchanges have very strict KYC and AML, which is a massive benefit on their part for doing their due diligence before AusTrack actually changed the recent AML-CTF Act. They were ahead of the game in actually doing that. And then you just transfer money from your bank and you buy some. Now, we could go through the whole technical side of where the cryptos sit and all that, but that would be a really long conversation. But it is as easy as that. It's just creating an account, transferring some money, and buying the cryptocurrency. Now, if they do decide to sign up with an exchange like Independent Reserve or BTC Markets that only have a few cryptocurrencies and they want to buy more, then you have to kind of go to stage 2, a little bit more advanced crypto purchasing, and actually send crypto from that exchange to a just crypto exchange like Binance or like Bittrex, and then you can trade for other cryptocurrencies on Bitcoin or Ethereum markets. Okay. But it does get a little bit more technical.
And
it is as easy as that.
They are, so Coinbase, you said, and Independent Reserve?
Yes, so there's Independent Reserve, there's CoinSpot. CoinSpot's probably the most popular in Australia.
So is that an Australian business?
Yeah.
Yes. It is an Australian business.
They all are.
Okay. So, are they regulated? Is your money, do you feel like your money is safe?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but then when it goes to Binance or Bittrex, is it still, in your opinion, safe in those places?
Look, in the crypto world, there's a running kind of sentiment that you don't leave your cryptocurrency on exchanges. Whether it's safe or not, it's kind of up to the person doing the investing to make their own risk assessment. But is it safe? Look, this is what I do, and this is what everyone should do. When you buy cryptocurrencies on an exchange, they are the custodian of that cryptocurrency, which means they hold the private key. You don't. You don't even have access to it. So they are the custodian. If anything major happened with them, you could lose your crypto, and it has happened before. If the users want to look into previous examples, you have the Mt. Gox exchange hack. That was massive. It was like $400 million of Bitcoin was hacked. So the general rule is you buy crypto on an exchange and you send it to a wallet, to a hardware wallet of your own or a desktop wallet where you control the private key, and then you are incomplete. You are then the custodian of your funds.
So you can do, excuse me, you can do that. One tick.
Yeah.
So if you, so with Binance, so then you can send it, hang on, give me a quick drink. So you can send it.
Right, I'll have one too.
So you can send it, once you've bought, so say you've bought some Neo or something on Binance, you can then send that to your own wallet that you hold, like a nano ledger or something. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And it takes about probably on average 5 to 10 minutes, very, very quickly. And then once it's on that thing, this thing holds the private key inside it. You keep that device somewhere safe. No one can touch your crypto.
That's like a like a USB thumb sort of thing. Not like a thumb drive sort of thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And these are arguably, they aren't technically the safest because you can keep private keys on a piece of paper as well. You can have a paper wallet. But these are, in my opinion, equivalent safety, but also very high usability, utility as well. So they're very easy to access your funds.
So I've heard this term paper wallet. Is that, so you're just, I'm losing my voice. Is it, you're just writing down the key, basically, eh? Like you're writing down the key that's on Binance.
Oh, you could write it down. I wouldn't recommend anyone write it down. But you can essentially print off the private key, and you can have a QR code attached to it as well. And then the access to the funds, your funds are actually stored on the blockchain, but access to your funds is on the private key, which is contained on that piece of paper. But if you lost that piece of paper, you're screwed. So you can't get access to your funds.
There's basically no way to come back from that. If you lose that, gone.
No.
Okay, that's scary.
Gone.
So I guess we're all
it is.
I guess we're all used to a bit of safety. Like if someone takes your credit card and has fun with it, the banks pay it back, and we've got that sort of safety net there that we're used to.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, so now I was going to ask you about a couple of individual cryptos that I have just taken interest in. I've got a little stock. Actually, I just sold it to be honest, Novice, which is listed on the ASX. Now, I'm sure I'll sound like a dummy here, but they're using the Stellar network for their payment platform. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I just wanted to know more about Stellar and how that would work, if you have any idea on that one.
Oh, you've asked me about a crypto that, to be honest, I don't actually know a whole lot about. Okay. I know Stellar does market itself as a kind of a payment platform. I believe they allow platforms to conduct ICOs and launch their own tokens and things as well. It's not one that's really been on my radar for some reason. It's never really been in my periphery enough to look into it any further. That doesn't mean it's couldn't have success down the track, but I think the general crypto community probably isn't overly focused on Stellar. They're more looking at, obviously Ethereum, but Neo is a huge one as well. Up and comers, Cardano and Lisk. Lisk will be a very big one, I believe, in the future as well.
Okay, I like the tip. And one more I was going to ask you about was Power Ledger, which is a little business that's just a few kilometres that way behind me in Fremantle. Just your opinion on Power Ledger?
Oh, look, it's a very solid project. I think it's always good to see Well, first off, my understanding is it was Australia's most successful ICO. So they've done extremely well. They've really put Australia on the map in terms of DApps or decentralized applications being built out of Australia, which is really good. In terms of an investment, I'm a little bit biased because I was in the power industry for a long time. I also have my own kind of criteria that I apply when I'm looking at particular cryptos. And one thing I think for me with Power Ledger was they have a large token supply, but a large portion of the tokens are held by the company for a period of years to be used in various ecosystem generating events. They basically will use tokens to try and incentivize different companies to use the platform and things like that. I'm always just, with my own investment criteria, try to look at companies that don't hold a large portion, because the way I see it is you just don't know when those tokens are going to be released to market, and you don't know how many. So I like to invest in tokens where I have a reasonable degree of understanding on how the token supply is actually going to be utilized, and preferably most of the tokens being on secondary markets already is, in my opinion, a better criteria to go for.
Okay, so Lisk is my first buy. my voice is killing me. What's going on? So
that's all right.
The Lisk, Lisk, is one that you as a novice, I should maybe look at and try and study first. Do you think?
Yeah, look, Lisk is going to allow, Lisk is a protocol, so they're their own blockchain that are going to allow decentralized applications to be built on now. But the reason why protocols are such good investments is because they're not specific to any one industry. So a company can get together and build an application on Lisk or Neo or Ethereum, and it doesn't matter what industry they're targeting. That protocol can service any industry. In fact, it can service just about any kind of DApp. So when you have a successful protocol that has features or functions that are unique above what the market is currently offering, Lisk has side chains. As also a very professionally run company, it's one of the first companies, there's a few, 10x is one of them as well, that are operating, that are really raising the bar of cryptocurrencies and how they're perceived, how they're operating, and I believe meeting current fintech companies. So you've got fantastic management team, you've got value of the protocol above, I believe, what is currently offered. And then you've got this token that has to be used in the ecosystem by developers to build applications, and they can build applications to service any industry. So it's kind of like a building block, if you can picture it that way.
Okay, so I could build my Darren coin on Lisk.
Yeah. When they release they haven't released the software yet that would allow, it's still very early. So I think probably this year they're going to be doing it. This is another great thing about cryptos, is so early. The market is very mature. So it presents fantastic opportunities. But yes, you would technically be able to build a Darren coin. You could build a Darren coin right now.
Look out for it, Beau. I'm coming for you, brother.
Sounds good.
Okay, but we'll probably leave it there. We've been going for about 40 minutes. So, and my throat is killing me, so I don't know what's going on. I normally don't talk this much. So just one last question, that the market right at the moment, I follow it. And the reason I follow it is because I love markets. I love the psychology that drives markets up and down. And I follow a lot of the Facebook groups and comment sometimes just to be a shit stirrer. It's fun. But it's gone down from maybe 880 billion, somewhere around there, down to about 250 billion over the last few months. And now it's back up to around 350 last time I looked. So I know it's almost impossible, but where do you think the market is right now? And you know, it's been a good probably 20-30% gain in the last, or more than that, maybe in the last couple of weeks. And what do you think's behind that? And where would you see it maybe by the end of the year?
Yeah, look, good question. It was funny. At the start of the year, I did a chat with another guy, and I was way too optimistic. I thought we were going to hit over $1 trillion by early this year. I was very wrong. And that taught me a lesson not to not to try and do predictions. And I don't. I generally don't. But I was very optimistic. Obviously, we had a huge correction. When I look at factors as to how the market's behaving, I always turn to guys that are a lot smarter than me. And what a lot of the really smart guys were saying was, a lot of people made a lot of dough last year in crypto, and in the US is where a large portion, if not the most, trading volume occurs. Therefore, statistically, you've got the most investors are likely in the United States. So a lot of investors were selling cryptocurrencies to pay their tax bill leading up to April. The funny thing is, leading just up to the 17th of April is when the market started to pick up. Now we're past 17th of April, the market's starting to pick up as well. I also think that over December, January, what we had was a lot of retail investors that have never invested before coming into cryptocurrencies based on hype and euphoria. If we look at Google Trends, we can see that Google Trends was going off in search terms for Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and Ethereum. So people were seeing it in the news, they were searching, they were buying some, and probably didn't have a lot of long-term investment experience. So as soon as some volatility comes in, you see the market will just flush out short-term speculators. And I think that's what happened as well. We had so much capital flow in so quick. I would estimate probably 50 to 60% of people have got in over that period were inexperienced investors. And then as the volatility started to kick in, there was just mass sell-offs. It's just that behavioral cycle. I think where we are now, I think the market has cleansed, basically. I think the fact that leading up to mid-April where we are now, it hit a floor and it stayed there. That was kind of the sign that this is the bottom and we should be picking up from here. Where it's going to be at the end of the year, I would hope over $1 trillion. I would hope over $1 trillion, but we'll just have to wait and see.
You better buy. I better buy. No worries, Beau. Mate, if people want to find you, obviously you got your YouTube channel, Cryptocurrency Australia, so they can go there and subscribe and follow you there. And you said you got a website. What's that for?
Yeah, so the website's cryptocurrencyaus.com. That's just another component to the YouTube channel now. So, you know, as a brand, as a team now, we've got our YouTube channel, we've got our website, we've got our Twitter. The website at the moment is still in early days, but we're slowly building some brilliant resources for people that want to learn more about cryptocurrency. So at the moment, we have 3 guides that are now published that have been written by a professional writer. We put a lot of work into these guides to present information based on the market where it is today, not what it was 6 months ago, because the market's maturing so quickly, where people can go to and learn all about different cryptocurrency classifications like security tokens, crypto commodities, utility tokens, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. We also have breakdowns on different exchanges in Australia. We evaluate the pros and cons of different exchanges and where people can go and how they can go about doing it. We go through the requirements exchanges have to follow in terms of KYC and AML. And we also have a number of simply explained pieces where we break down particular cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum in really easy to understand terms. So it's a real wealth of information and there's a lot more coming.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out. And one last question, Beau, AFL or NRL, bud?
Neither.
Neither?
I don't watch sports at all.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, okay.
Don't have time.
No worries, bud. All good. Thanks for the chat, Beau. I'll let you go. Cheers,
no
buddy.
Worries, Dad. Thanks for having me.
Catch ya.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
So there you go. That is the interview with Beau. That's completely unedited and unscripted. So I hope you enjoyed the listening to that as much as I enjoyed talking with Beau. It is interesting. I'm getting more and more interested in the market each day, but as yet I'm not ready to invest in it. But doing further research at this stage myself. Now, if you have any questions for Beau, just put them in the comments and I'll see if I can just get Beau to visit the channel and answer any questions that come along. As I said in the interview, you can always go check out Beau's channel as well. If you're into crypto, you're starting to get an interest in crypto, it's a fantastic place to start, especially for us Aussies, because we're sort of on the level. No worries, guys. Thanks for listening. It was a long one today, but I think it was worth it. So thanks for sticking around right to the end, and I'll see you on the next vid.